Howdy, howdy.
How's it going, everyone?
So tonight our topic is the difference between grass-fed, grass-finished, grain-finished, grain-fed, pasture-finished, pasture-raised, all the different labels that can be put on meat and what it actually means to you as a consumer, depending, whatever it is you're looking for, how you know you're going to get what it is you actually want to get. So,
That's me. Okay.
go for it.
So, I guess we could just start out with a really basic tenet of ruminant. Pretty much every ruminant will get grass at some point in its life. So, we'll focus primarily on beef. We have some really good friends, and we have some close acquaintances, people that we know that ranch, and they run their cows on range, and then from there those cows are taken to a sale lot and sold, and then from there they go feed lot and they're finished out there. So the basically every cow at some point in its life is grass fed as a primary means to get it to a certain weight. And then so the difference is basically the finishing process. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit more. So so when somebody says that a cow or the beef is grass fed, it's, I don't know if ambiguous is the right word, but it's a little vague, because you can have grass fed, but that cow could have never tasted fresh grass that it chewed, took the bite off the ground and never had that experience. Meaning you could have had a cow that was fed from the time it left its mom's teat to the time that it was processed. It could have only had hay as its primary grass source.
And grass-fed, as he was saying, is kind of a loose term. So there are meats that are labeled grass-fed at the stores and through different producers that are not grass-finished. And so grass-fed is a term that most people use when they want, when they're looking for meat that's just been finished on grass, no grains.
Yeah.
But when you buy something that says grass-fed, there is a high probability that it was fed grains or finished on something else at one point in its life. So grass-fed does not necessarily mean that you're getting just a grass-finished product. That's where you have to look for grass-finished.
Yeah. So, and then I guess I'll break it down a little bit more from there. So, feedlot beef, is fed a variety of different feeds, anything from sorghum to grains, all sorts of different things that they could be fed there. So some of for example, when we go to look at cows to purchase from somebody else, we know that if they're geared towards a sell the calves every year program, that they may not have the genetic traits that we're looking for to finish on grass, because they've been genetically bred to get fat quick on a certain type of feed. And so for example, the couple of cows that weren't Highlands or weren't what we were working with, they took a lot longer than even 18 to 24 months to finish on grass, because genetically they're designed to consume a different type of feed.
And that can be different. It doesn't necessarily mean the breed. So we'll use Angus, for example, popular breed. There are herds of Angus that finish well on grass.
Yeah,
because of their genetics and the breeding and just the program that they're in. Then there can also be Angus that don't finish well. We actually have a steer right now that is a Angus Hereford cross, and he's not finishing as quickly as an Angus that we finished a year and a half ago.
And they've always got a little bit bigger body on them, might be a little bit longer, and we go, man, that's going to be an awesome animal when he gets done. But we always forget it's going to take a lot longer doing the process we're doing, because they are still a little bit more picky about the types of feed that they get than what our other cows consume.
So we've covered grass-fed. We know that means it's eaten grass in its life at one point or another.
Yep.
It does not guarantee that it was finished on grass.
Yeah.
So if you are looking for that, grass-fed is not the label you're looking for.
Yeah.
Now, grass-finished, it's a little bit easier to define. It's the animal that was born, it went from mother's teat to grass and was finished on grass.
Yeah.
What Stephen clarified on that is that could be an animal that was fed hay its whole life and not fresh grass.
Yeah.
So there is a difference in nutrition there and quality of meat.
huge difference in flavor. You can take that cow that's been on hay its whole life from the time it left the teat to when it goes to the processor, and I've had those before. And I'm not going to fault anybody that does it, because we lived in a place where that's what we would have done, because there wasn't pasture, so there's a variety of reasons why to do it. But I probably never would have eaten grass-fed beef if that was my only experience with it, because it was really hard for me to eat it. Which made me really grateful for what we do, which is different from both of those other things, where, grass-fed or
Grass-finished.
Grass-finished. So we've covered those two couple of things. I guess I said the same thing. There you go.
You're all right.
We'll kind of jump back to the feedlot, or where they do a higher intensive caloric, high intensity feed. That feed's got lots of calories, it's got lots of fats, it's got lots of starches, good deal of protein. So there's a lot of things that go into that, and I'm not I'm not here to say anything negative about that process, because
so many people like different things.
I have ideals, and they're not everybody's ideal. And that's just what it is. My viewpoint is that what I do is superior, but I love and respect the people that do what they do that's different than me, and I've learned things from them in those processes. So that caveat aside, generally speaking, the farmer who is, he may have a few beef to finish out every year, who doesn't have a lot of pasture, but he has some, he'll be the one, or she'll be the one, that will graze those guys, and they'll have a supplement of corn or oats or something like that to kind of give that finish. So typically, a grain-finished beef, it's, I believe, 3 months before process. They'll start...
Even up to 6 months.
Yeah, just depends on the economical side of it. They'll be fed, they'll be grass-fed primarily, and then those 3 to 6 months before processing, they'll be, they'll have more grain and a little bit less grass as a part of their diet. So there's a number of issues that can come up with doing something like that, but that's going to be typical of what you find from your 3 to 8 cow producer every year, who doesn't have a lot of pasture. And then what else were we going to talk about?
Well, and even on the grain-fed, there's a difference too. Like he was saying, there's some that are kind of supplemented grain most of their life.
Yeah.
And they still get hay all the way to the end. And then there's some that they have grass/hay/pasture up to a certain point, and then they're fed only the grain.
Yeah.
Whether it be corn or like the sorghum, or a lot of people do like a barley finish, or a lot of the feedlots, it's kind of a different mash that's a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
But so there is a difference in that too, and that changes the chemical makeup of the animal as well, whether they still have grass in their diet or if they're just strictly on a grain finish.
Yeah. So
and that grain finish is where you will receive, the animal will produce more of those saturated fats.
Yeah.
And the back fat layer that kind of talk about in the cooking video he just did, which I'm still editing. But
so the reasons to do why you do what you do, there's lots of different reasons. So those few, grass-fed, grass-finished, grain-finished, feedlot finished. If you buy something from the store, primarily that's what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Unless it is specifically labeled non-feedlot beef or grass-fed, grass-finished. Mind you, you can have grass-fed, grass-finished in a feedlot style setting where you've got those cows punched in real close, real tight all the time, and they're fed that, organic. Because you can have certified organic beef a lot of these different ways. Mm-hmm. And so you're probably, it's possible that even if you go to the store, it's going to be some type of conventional feedlot style setup to get those enough of those cows to wait to send to market to be processed. And then grain-fed, grain-finished. Grain-fed is where it's been supplemented throughout its life, or grain-finished, where it's 3 to 6 months before processing. They switch that diet up and get that cow really fat. And then so I guess I'd say what we do.
Pasture-raised, pasture-finished.
Which is a little hard to define necessarily. So most of our pastures are irrigated land. Some of it's dry, some of it's sub-irrigated, which means that there's groundwater and it irrigates it. Our goal is to never have hay go through our animals. This year, cross our fingers, will be the year we have the least amount of hay go through our animals, and it has been the biggest blessing economically. And the health of our animals is
night and day difference.
Total difference. These guys have, so our highlands are thousands of years genetically disposed to consume grass, consume cattails, rushes, reeds, all the things the other animals just won't touch, and convert it. And over time, the muscling and the marbling becomes super dense, and so they produce, because of how they grow, more collagen versus saturated or back fats or any of those things. Mm-hmm. So pasture-finished animals, pasture-raised animals. So we technically would call ours pasture-raised, pasture-finished, meaning they're born there. They consume that for the duration of their life, and then they're processed.
Another difference too, because there is a difference between a grass-finished animal and a pasture-finished animal. We talked about the grass-finished animal that their grass was a source of hay, but there are places, like if it's certified grass-finished, that means that even though they were in fields eating, those fields are certified only grass.
Yeah.
Only grass grows there.
Yeah, not any other
They
kind
come
of
out
vegetation.
and they check and they make sure that you only have a grass growing. We use the term pasture finished because our pastures are full of a diversity of plants.
Anywhere
so
between
more than grass.
10 to 25 different kinds of grasses, legumes,
herbs, legumes,
forbs, everything.
Flowers.
Yeah, flowers.
The herbs that most people think of as weeds.
Yeah.
Brush,
Chicory,
bushes.
Yeah, we.
Tree bark, if there's trees in the...
They're really big goats, and we love them. They're our favorite to watch how they browse and consume. one of the steers we had a couple of years ago, his favorite was to look at the flower and eat it. Look at it, sniff it, and eat it. And he would just kind of wander around the
field. And he would do that, just eating the flowers.
He just wanted the flowers. And, but it's that type of grazing setup that gives you some of the best, nutritional, best flavor, density, just really good. So while we don't do those other processes, we do a pasture-raised, pasture-finished, and at some point we'll be able to do that with our pork. Our pork is pasture-finished. We're at a point where we purchase piglets from other people, and then we finish those 6-7 months on our pasture. So they're pasture-finished. They get a grain supplement. Our chickens are pasture-raised. We don't hatch them here, but we finish them. So they're pasture finished here as well. They get a grain supplement, but both of them consume a lot of grass, all of the same things as the cows do. So the benefit of what we're doing is what we call a preventative maintenance, preventative health maintenance program for our animals, because it gives them the diversity that they need for their bodies to consume what they need to stay healthy.
And that, like with the cow, the steer that you were talking about that went and picked the little flowers, it was cute to watch and fun and kind of put that personality on it. But in reality, he was probably doing it because those flowers gave him something that he needed.
Yeah.
And that's how the animals, so we don't believe in feeding them only one thing. They need that diversity because they are intuitive to what their nutritional needs are. And so the more diverse the forage, the better health of the animal, which then produces better health
for the consumer,
nutrition, meat that you consume, which makes you healthier.
Yeah.
So that's the basic rundown of all the different labels, and I mean, like we said, it has nothing to do with promoting one certain thing. We of course are partial to pasture, and that has a lot to do with personal health stories and different education we've had and the differences in
just
the animals.
Flavor alone sometimes. The texture and flavor. When we eat something else, we always remember why
we raise our own.
Why we do what we do, and we appreciate the community around us who does nothing like what we do, but they're always curious and they ask lots of questions, and it's right back at them. We ask tons of questions because they've been doing it for years.
Yeah. And there are just some people, like I've had plenty of people at the farmers markets that are like, I just like a grain-finished beef. I love the fat on it. I love, and so we all have our own preferences, but sometimes it can get hard. It can be confusing to know what you're buying when you hear all of these different terms, and it's like, well, this is what I want, so which term am I looking for? Because even if you see something that says pasture-raised, and it's not being said that it was pasture-finished, that means that there could be grains and different things in their diet that maybe you're not looking for, or maybe you are.
Right.
The reason why we kind of picked this topic tonight was because Stephen did a cooking class.
Be kind when you watch it. Be really kind.
The video that I'm still editing, teaching you how to cook pasture-finished meats. Because they are a little bit different than your typical meats that you get from the store because of the difference in fat. And the collagen.
Yeah, and really, probably, because it hasn't sat in transit for a month and a half to 3 months before it even got to the store.
Yeah.
So just how quick you're able to cook it versus how long it sat.
Yeah.
Is different. So
having a dry, there's a lot of topics, little rabbit trails we could take, but we really just wanted to cover these few definitions for you so that when you are looking to purchase meat, you know what it is you want and you know what label to look for to get what it is that you want.
Yep.
So, I'm not seeing any questions or anything come in from
Yeah,
anybody.
if you guys ever have questions, please feel free to comment, and we'll include those next time or address them now.
Mm-hmm.
So, thank you guys for watching. Have a great evening, and thank you.
Yeah. Enjoy your night.